The Florida Gators have a ton of issues right now, but the most glaring ones only fixable with a drastic change.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free for the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Tuesday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find all of my written work about the Florida Gators with swampsignal.substack.com. And today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. And I mentioned Swamp Signal because that is where I've been putting written work about the Florida Gators. 2 free articles every week, a minimum, usually 1 paid. And I wrote about this on Swamp Signal yesterday, but I figured that was like a 5-minute read where, things can be misinterpreted because it's written over text. It's a lot easier to put some of these thoughts into words, right? Verbally. There are issues with this Florida Gators team, right? No one's denying that. You're 2-4. You don't get there without having some pretty bad issues. I will also say that the overall thought that I see amongst some fans of just like, oh, this season didn't reach expectations, and so it's a lost season, so I don't care anymore. I refuse to feed into that or subscribe to that. I want this team to win every single game. They won't reach expectations, right? They already have missed expectations. They've already guaranteed that they'll miss expectations that a lot of people had, but it's still their job to work, right? It's still their job to try to improve for the players, the coaches that are still around. It's their job to improve and get better. Despite all of the glaringly obvious issues. Coaching's been a major issue, right? And it's not just this year. Coaching was an issue last year. Coaching was an issue the year prior. There have been play calling complaints for years. There have been scheme complaints for years. I disagree on the scheme ones. I've said that many times. I do think that you can run 12 personnel. I think that the argument for the scheme is that Billy Napier wants to run this scheme but has not recruited properly for that scheme. I think that's a very fair argument to make. But to just say, hey, the scheme can't work, doesn't make sense. But play calling has been a glaring issue on this team. I don't think that Billy Napier has much of a feel for the game. And honestly, more than his play calling, I have serious issues with his game management than the actual play calling itself in certain situations like this past weekend. I'm fine with the 3rd and 6 run that they had at midfield in the 4th quarter. No problem with that. My issue is 3rd and 6 run, because your thought process the whole time is, hey, we're going for this. So 3rd and 6 run, you figured, hey, we'll cut this in half, and then we have our full playbook basically at our disposal. So I'm fine with 3rd and 6 run. However, when you gained 0 yards on that 3rd and 6 run, the right call would have been, you know what? We're not in a good spot now. We're going to punt this. That should have been the thought. You should have punted at that point. You were down 7. Your defense was playing well. Nope. You chose to go for it. Gave Texas A&M the ball in a 1-possession game. You gave them the ball at midfield. They ended up scoring a touchdown, right? And that sucks. That makes things worse. But even in hindsight, bad decision to go for it, because then they get 15, 20 yards, and they're in legit makeable field goal range. That makes it a 2-possession game. You should have punted and make them drive the entire length of the field. Didn't do that. the end of the first half, choosing to operate the way that he chose to operate with letting the clock run. Actually, go back to the start of the game, won the toss, chose to receive. Don't do that. Won the toss, chose to receive. And then at the end of the first half, you have a chance to strike. You're down. You have a chance to strike, make this game closer because Texas A&M now gets the ball to open the second half because you made a poor decision. So Texas A&M gets the ball with the chance to make it a multi-score game there. You should have tried harder to close that gap. Even if you're just getting three. You should have tried harder to close that gap. So things like that, inexcusable, especially in year 4, especially for a guy that's like, yeah, no, I'm super into analytics. Just bad. Just bad there. And here's the thing. The only fix, there's 2 fixes here. There's 2 fixes for the play calling. That's 1, Billy Napier giving up play calling duties, which at this point seem incredibly unlikely considering every time a reporter asks him about it, he tries to bite their freaking head off. He does. That's like the one thing that he gets genuinely testy about is, hey, have you considered giving up play calling? Why would I do that? That's what got me here. It's also what got you to under 500 in your tenure at Florida. It's also what got you to under 500 on the season in year 4 at Florida. It's what got you here. Sure. It's what's going to get you fired. So when you're fired and you're unemployed, you can say, hey, it's what got me here. That's one of my biggest issues with Billy Napier. I understand you want to call plays. I get it. It's fun. I love loading up Madden and just being like, you know what? I'm just going to call some stuff and we're going to see how it goes, right? I get it. I don't get paid $7 million to play Madden. All right. And good coaches give up play calling duties when they go, hey, I'm going to get fired if I don't do this. So we can assume he's not giving up play calling duties. That leaves us to the other fix for the play calling and coaching issues, firing Billy Napier. So yes, the issues are fixable. They are not fixable by the players. They are not fixable by the rest of the coaching staff. They are fixable by 2 people, head coach Billy Napier and athletic director Scott Strickland. And Billy Napier has shown no willingness to make that call and make that change. So I have no anticipation that will happen, no expectation that will happen. And Scott Strickland has not exactly shown the willingness to make the call that he should have made last year. And so we're still sitting here waiting for that. But until either of those drastic changes are made, the Florida Gators are not going to fix their play calling issues. They're not going to fix their coaching issues. That's it. Like, we're at the point where when Billy Napier got hired, he was, hey, this is going to take a few years to process. It's all that. And I don't necessarily think that it was going to take a few years guaranteed, but I accept that, hey, you know what? If it takes a couple of years and you get right, year 3 is where I'm willing to really start judging you. Year 3 came and went. Bad play calling. You turned things around, but it still, you were getting bailed out in some areas and your defense started balling out. Like, you weren't doing that because of your offense. You were doing that because your defense, you turned around. And when you try to sell me on it's the process, we're process oriented. That's fine. I'm process oriented as well. Like process oriented, goals driven, I guess we'll say. Like I'm fine trusting a process to get to this spot. Okay. But if the process isn't getting you there, then make changes to the process. And so I'm fine saying process oriented, right? We're process oriented. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get there. But for Billy Napier, if you're truly process oriented, you would have identified, hey, our process isn't getting us to where we want to go. Because that's what it is. It's not just like, oh yeah, well, this is the process. We'll just go through it. No, this is our process to get to this spot. And if our process isn't getting us to this spot, then buddy, call it a day. Because if your process isn't getting you to where you're trying to go, then you need to change the process. And in this case, for Billy, it's play calling. The process isn't working for you. Change it. You don't want to do that. You're going to get fired trying to do that. Just because you're meticulous and you have a plan does not mean that it's a good plan. Okay? I want to make that abundantly clear. Sitting there and going, hey, well, I really thought this out, and this is the conclusion I came to, that this approach will get us there, doesn't mean that it's the right one. It's the one that you came to, but guess what? It hasn't been working. You need to fix some vitally important things in order to get better. And I don't think Billy is willing to make those changes. There are other changes that can be fixed. Maybe. We'll talk about those when we get back with Locked On Gators. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe you serve ware that needs a little refreshment, right? Or the guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready, from Christmas trees and wreaths to bedding, cookware, outdoor inflatables. It's your one-stop shop for everything in the house. I'll tell you what, I got to fix up a couple guest areas. I got Dirty 30 coming up, Christmas right after that. We're going to have people over. Wayfair makes it easy for you to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. Get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. And it's the NFL season as well, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. I mentioned this yesterday in the FanDuel read. Like, I'm so jealous of you Jags and Bucks fans. I'm a Giants fan, so I'm just L after L around. Like, beat the Eagles, sure, but still going to suck this year. Fun. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So that's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Nice again for me, Locked On Gators, your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, reference in the podcast and on YouTube. And we're gonna go for a twofer here. Yesterday in the article we spoke about DJ Lagway. We spoke about the offensive line in separate segments. Here we're gonna combine them a little bit because they do kind of go hand in hand, right? Like DJ Lagway has not been good this year. Okay. And I know that every time I say that, there's people that bring up the improved completion percentage from last year, because he has indeed lifted that completion percentage from last year. So good job. He's currently completing 67% of his passes, which is up from last year's at like 59. That's a big jump, right? However, his yards per attempt is down like 3 yards because he's not throwing the ball nearly as frequently deep downfield as he was. He's not throwing the ball as well as he was last year. It's not just about the frequency of throwing deep downfield. It's that he's not throwing the football as well as he was last year. Like, he's got basically the same number of attempts this year as he had last year, but he's completed more of his passes, right? Same number of pass attempts, completed more of his passes, but he's got 700 fewer yards. That's a lot. Like, that's a giant drop off there. He's got fewer touchdowns. He's on pace for more touchdowns. Fewer interceptions. He's on pace for way more interceptions. And overall, he's had flashes still. He has. The Texas game, he looked good, especially early on. The Texas A&M game, he looked good early on. But he's had so many inconsistent stretches, or just stretches where he doesn't look like the guy we saw glimpses of last year. And I say glimpses of last year because you can go back to last year. And I was very critical that, hey, he looks really good for a freshman, but he doesn't look really good overall. That was always my take on Lagway last year, that he was playing not sustainable football. And everybody went, oh, shut up. They're winning the games, right? 2025 is what your offense looks like when that not sustainable side comes on the downswing of the pendulum. That's what it is. It doesn't have an underneath game, a true underneath game, where, you can hit screens and slants real quick, but as far as going through progressions, finding the underneath receiver, hitting him on time, and getting to it, nope. Still doesn't exist at all. After those first couple drives for Florida, or the first 3 drives, we'll say, his passing production fell off a cliff. And a lot of it was because he was under pressure a lot, all right? Before we get to that, DJ Lagway has been dealing with injury since last year, okay? He was limited toward the end of last year. He was out for spring and summer. His development got stunted. That doesn't mean that he's never going to reach his ceiling. That means it's going to take him longer to get there if he's ever going to reach it, which, by the way, it was always if he's ever going to reach it. When you have a guy with a ceiling that high, it's always going to be if they're ever going to reach it. But the injuries held him back. We saw the start of the year, Long Island, great stats. I didn't think he was super impressive on film. I think he was missing throws he shouldn't have been missing. I think he was throwing him or running himself into pressure and sacks, and he's still been running himself into pressure and sacks all year. But we've seen him start to become a little bit more of what we think he could be, right? The Texas game, there was little pressure on him, and he was dealing. Okay? The Texas A&M game, there was a ton of pressure on him, but he still looked better than he looked against Miami, LSU, and even USF, even while under so much pressure, because he was just doing a better job of evading some of the pressure. He still had a ton of screw-ups, right? He did. He was put in bad spots. Bad things happened. That makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying he played a great game, but I'm saying he looked better than he did against Miami, LSU, or USF because he was actually evading pressure, where in those first few games, we didn't see him evade that pressure. He was just getting pressured and getting sacked on those. Like, you look at, and I'll pull up the stats here, where it's the Long Island game, his pressure to sack ratio, so basically what percentage of pressures ended in a sack. Long Island, he was only pressured 5 times. He was sacked twice. And PFF attributes him to those pressures and sacks because they were his fault. Okay? Against Miami, pressure to sack ratio of 31.3%. He was pressured 16 times, got sacked on 5 of those, 31.3%. Okay? High percentages. Like, those percentages are not where you want to go. He started coming a little bit back down to earth, where Texas, he was pressured 9 times, didn't get sacked. Texas A&M pressured 11 times, got sacked 3 times, right? Not a good point, but over the past 2 games, 20 pressures, 3 sacks. That's closer to what we saw last year, okay? It's still not amazing, but it's a lot better than we're used to seeing. That helps keep the offense on schedule, on target, and in manageable positions. He's getting better there. He was always going to be someone that needs reps to get better. He's getting those reps. He's getting better. He's fixable. The offensive line has been a massive disappointment, and there's no way around that. Jake Slaughter, I believe, is still playing good football. He's not playing all-American football, but he's still playing good football generally. Okay? Yes, he has some issues when he faces those really powerful interior defensive linemen. And I do mean like the elite of the elite give him some issues, but even then, he wins a good deal of those reps as well. Like, he really, I know that there's people that go, oh, well, he's getting pushed around. No, he's not. He's really not. I think in the run game, he's not a guy that wins reps a ton. Like, he doesn't win reps in dominant fashion in the run game. He sets his lane. He sets his hole. He seals that spot and keeps it open. That's it. He's not putting dudes on the ground. That's not his game. He's a lighter guy, not really putting dudes on the ground, but he's creating those rush lanes. And that's his job. Like it's fun. It's awesome to see someone body bagging, but he's not doing that. In the passing game, he's really not allowing pressures. Like I know that people see him get pushed back a bit and go, "Oh my God, he's getting bullied." No, that's pass pro. You're going to get pushed back. As long as you don't get pushed back into the quarterback's lap, and as long as you don't get pushed back far enough where the quarterback can't step up, you're doing your job. That's like, I do think that in pass pro, a lot of people don't understand what your job's supposed to be. It's fine if you're getting pushed back a bit. Someone's running forward and pressing forward, and you've got to be reactionary to it. Like you've got to stand and try to not back up. That's harder because you're not trying to move forward that much in pass pro. You're trying to not get pushed back, and there's a difference. So getting pushed back a bit is fine. It's when you fall into the quarterback's lap, that's when issues happen, especially on the interior, and Jake Slaughter doesn't get pushed back like that. Austin Barber has been Dan Moore. Okay, if you're a Titans fan, I'm sorry to bring that name up to you, but Austin Barber's been Dan Moore this year. Which by the way, like I know I had a few people commenting this past weekend about, oh, it's crazy that it's almost like he should be on the right side. He looked better on the right side. He always looked better on the right side. We've been talking about that for years now. And the people that brought it up were bringing it up because I've been saying he's better on the right side than the left. This whole like left tackles get paid more thing is nonsense. Don't let people tell you that. It's not true. The highest paid offensive tackles in the NFL are right tackles, actually. So that's important because quarterbacks roll right more. So you can run away from the left side. They roll to their dominant side, and they're mostly right-handed. They roll to that side. Right tackles, more engaged in the action there. But Austin Barber's been Dan Moore. He's good versus average and bad edges, okay? The moment he goes up against an elite edge, he's toast. And when he goes up against a good edge, he'll win some, have some ugly losses, have some really good wins, okay? That's what he looks like. You watch the film, that's what he's doing. He's bringing out snatch traps. Like he's taken steps to get better, truly. But once you put him up against a great edge, he's toast. It's tough there. And you see that the lineup that Florida's faced this year and is going to continue facing, it's going to keep getting rough for him probably. Definitely not helping himself NFL stock-wise. Offensive line can continue improving their communication. But as far as getting bullied up front, like that's not changing. Guys aren't getting significantly stronger midseason. Your right tackle spot is going to be an issue going into the remainder of the season, really. I think Caden Jones has shown promise. He's gotten better. He's still not been great. Better than Bryce Lovett. But is he still a true starter quality SEC offensive tackle? I don't think so yet. But also, I'll tell you this much from the very little that I do get and I can share. The plan wasn't for him to be the starting right tackle this year. The plan was for him to be more competitive for that spot next year. And so with Caden Jones, it's like he's doing his best. He's just like he wasn't supposed to be starting this year, but he is. And that's where Florida's at. Defense has, I think, one very glaring issue that we'll need to talk about when we get back with Lockdown Gators. College football is here. I couldn't have been more excited going into the year, right? Tailgates, rivalries, energy in the stands, which by the way, the energy in the stands is still there for the Florida Gators, despite how much their administration has spat in the face of the fan base. And honestly, I'm here for the fans still being there, still supporting the players. You don't have to like the coach. You don't have to support the coach. I will support that logo till the day I die. Those players, absolutely keep doing it. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself sometimes, with endless queues and hidden fees and prices just jumping at checkout at will too. It's crazy. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. So what you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, Promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free with us in the podcast and on YouTube. And there's one last thing to talk about today. And if you remember during this past off season, so like December, January-ish, we spent quite a bit of time on this show talking about the transfer portal and talking about, well, Florida needs to go get a starting quality safety. And there were some names that they talked about, right? There were some names that they brought in for visits, but just never came to fruition, right? Cool. That sucked because I think a lot of us, I never bought the whole the offseason fan base hype of like, oh, Bryce Thornton's going to be an all SEC guy, early draft pick. He's never going to be an early draft pick. He doesn't have the size, and there was no evidence that he would be an all SEC guy this year. I still think he's good. Like I'm not saying he's not good. I don't think he's the bigger problem in that safety room. But he's not an all SEC caliber player. That's just not what he is. Has a shot at making it to the league, but that size is going to hurt him. The size and not having top flight athleticism is going to hurt him. But guys still make it there all the time without that. It's just going to be probably harder to find a spot early on, which is fine. Jordan Castell has been an absolute disappointment. Okay. He has 2 picks that help make his stats look a little better than they really are, but watch the 2 picks. It was against Texas. Arch threw the ball right at him. Like he dropped back, was just standing there, and Arch just threw it to him, just fell into his lap. And the other, sure, good jump ball pick against Texas A&M. Sure, I'll give it to you. You're 6'2". But he has had so many mistakes this year. The Florida Gators defense has allowed 12 defensive touchdowns this year. Safeties have been responsible for what? 5, 6, or 7 of them, really? Like against Texas, the touchdown with, I forgot which back it was that scored a touchdown there, but Jordan Castell was just watching it happen. Against Texas A&M, the bomb for Mario Craver to open the game for Texas A&M's offense, he ran right by both of the safeties. It was Thornton in the slot, or Thornton in the box, and Castell over top, and he's ran by them both. Didn't score on that play, but scored the very next play. Also against Texas A&M, there's the one play where Jordan Castell is in run defense, gets brushed off, and then has a horrible, horrible attempt at recovering and making the play there. You had the corner by the running back against Texas A&M that safety's watching it happen. Castell, like stuff like that is inexcusable in year 3 of being a significant starter. He never got better from his freshman year. I don't know if he's a safety, genuinely. And like I don't say that retroactively. I've said this whenever people talk about him. I loved what we saw from him in his freshman year. Since then, he's been relatively unimpressive to me. And I think that his freshman year just might have been his ceiling as a safety, really. And that's not to bash him and say he's horrible and never going to be good, but let's be real here. There is a reason that when Nick Saban was recruiting Jordan Castell, and Nick Saban, big DB guy, when Nick Saban was recruiting Jordan Castell, he was recruiting him with the intention of moving in the linebacker. Okay? He's just not a high-quality starting safety. He's, I think, an average starting safety, but average starting safety is not great when you don't have the pass rush in front of you. And if you need an elite pass rush to be a good safety, then you're not a good safety, right? Like even against Texas, there were big plays available there that Arch just missed because of pressure. And he did hit a touchdown there. against Texas A&M. Again, if pressure had gotten to Marcel Reed, maybe there's a different story, but pressure didn't get there, and Marcel Reed and Mario Craver wide open for a huge gain. Without an elite pass rush, this safety play is not good. And I put more of it vocally here on Jordan Castell because he's the deep safety. Like that's his role. He's the deeper safety there. He's usually the one over top there. So I put more of it on him in terms of letting up the big plays. But he's also just been relatively unimpressive. He has. Honestly, I'm fully on board saying, hey, play Hilton Stubbs. Lagonza Hayward's playing or practicing at Star. That's where he's at. But hey, play Hilton Stubbs more. Play Michael Caraway Jr. more. Like, I don't care. Like, if you're only good with a dominant pass rush, then you might as well play a young guy like Hilton Stubbs or try something new like Michael Caraway Jr. and see what you can get out of him. That's it. The way that guys come in from the portal or guys come in from high school and find immediate success, and then year 2 and year 3 in the system, they start to regress a bit, tells me maybe they're not as good at developing players as they think they are. And that they're just they're great at evaluating. And then once they're in the system and get coached up, they start regressing. That tells me it's an indictment on the coaching staff. That's all I can say there for multiple positions at this point. But for safety, like, haven't gotten much better. I do think Bryce Thornton's gotten better. Okay. I think Jordan Castell has gotten a little bit better, but nothing close to what he could be or what people thought he could be. If you need an elite pass rush to be a good safety, then you're not a good safety. And right now, Florida has an inconsistent pass rush. Not an elite one. So not getting good safety play. You can fix that. Or at least, I don't know if you'll fix it, but there are things you could do to try to fix it. Right? Offensive line, you can fix communication. You're not fixing the strength issue. Coaching, you could fix play calling. He's not fixing play calling by giving it up. But Billy Napier calling plays can't be fixed unless it's removed. Safety, you could try fixing it by bringing in new people in that room or starting new people in that room. But that safety, they're not getting better right now. There are ways to try to fix this team. You got to take the shot to try to do it. But until they do, it's not improving. Guys don't take these giant, significant developmental leaps during the season like that usually. Unless you're young, and usually then it's like after a bye week, you come out and you use that bye week to get better and improve. But outside of that, not likely. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have, I think we're going to have the first episode or the first segment be a crossover with our Locked On Mississippi State host. And then we'll have the final 2 segments be our Hayden Hansen weekly interview there. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI and find all my Florida Gators written work with swampsignal.substack.com. And I'll see you all next time.